How's it going, everybody? My name is Rinzler here, back again for another video, and welcome back to another shoot video. As usual, shoot in this context means to tell the absolute truth about something, not to actually shoot nobody with a gun. Alright, with that out of the way, I'm going to be talking about that time I shaved my head bald. I believe I was on a YouTube hiatus at the time, which is probably why anybody who has never met me in real life was probably unaware that I ever shaved my head bald. I did talk about this briefly in some other shoot videos, particularly my last shoot video where I talked about dyeing my hair. Used to dye my hair some real exotic colors, like I dyed my hair blue, and then I dyed it red. And then at one point my hair was four different colors, which I talked about in my shoot video. It was my natural blonde, it was strawberry red, it was orange, and it was pink all at the same time at one point. Um, anyway, so I was trying to grow my long red hair out, but eventually I got kind of tired of waiting for it to grow, so I asked my mom if she could shave all my hair off. I just wanted to go bald because typically when I'm having a summer vacation, I like to come back to school with like a dramatic new look or whatever, just to show that I've changed a bit over the summer, you know? I'd done it the summer before. I left school with blonde hair, and then I came back with this bright ass blue hair, you know. So anyway, I've been growing out my dyed red hair all summer long, so I wanted it to be like really long blonde hair that was dyed red at the end. Because at that point, I was like obsessed with that Dothraki braid hairstyle, where they have like the braids that go all the way down to their like fucking ankles. So I wanted to do that, but I started to get impatient or whatever about growing my hair. So I asked my mom to shave it all off, and she told me that she would cut it short for me, but she wouldn't shave it all the way to the skin or nothing. So I decided that was better than nothing because I knew for sure I was getting tired of having long hair. So I had her cut it to this short blonde look that had a little bit of red still in it. So she cut it again a couple weeks later to get rid of the rest of the red. So I got back to school with my natural blonde hair showing for the first time in over a year. And I kept that short blonde hair look for a while. I waited a few months before asking my mom if I could shave my head again because even though I had the short blonde hair, I really wanted to be bald because I was so tired of having to deal with combing my hair and getting it cut all the time. I just thought that shaving it bald would be a lot quicker. It'd save me money, and it would save me time. And after a year of like dyeing your hair, it became like a really tedious process. So I was like really tired of dealing with my hair. So I just wanted to have no more hair. My mom had said no when I asked her if I could shave it bald in the summertime. So I waited a few months until the winter time to ask her again if I could shave it. And she once again shot it down and told me no. Then I started to get really depressed because around this time I broke up with my girlfriend, the same girl who I was like really, really close with and thought that I had a future with. Me and her like broke up. We parted ways or whatever. And it took me a really long time to emotionally recover from that breakup. I don't think I recovered from it fully until I graduated. So at that point, my solution to depression was usually dramatically changing my appearance. When I dramatically changed my look, it usually made me feel a little bit better. It made me feel like I could start over, you know? So I became more interested than ever in shaving my head bald after I broke up. My mom kept shooting it down though. She kept telling me, no, no, you're 17, you're in high school, and people are going to think that you're like a skinhead, or they're going to think you got some kind of sickness like cancer or whatever. So she told me I wasn't allowed to shave my head bald. She kept giving me the short haircut because my mom's great at cutting my hair, but she wouldn't let me shave my head. So I asked her one more time in like late January, early February, because like I had just gotten over being suicidal, and I really wanted to change up my look. So I asked her one last time if I could shave my head bald, and she told me no. So this time I decided to just go into business for my own. So I had like a 2 hour delay at school that day because there was a snowstorm. So the buses weren't going to show up until about 9 in the morning instead of 7 like they normally do. Because my school works on a different time system. Most schools start at 8 and end at 3. My school started at 7 and ended at 2. So I usually woke up at like 4:30 in the morning so I'd have time to get my workout in and all this other shit. Although I wasn't exercising at that point because I was too depressed. Anyway, so I still woke up at 4:30 so I'd have time to shave my head and do all my normal morning crap. So I went into the bathroom and I had this electric shaver or whatever that I would use to trim up my beard every now and again because I had facial hair for most of my time in high school. Uh, so, uh, yeah, so I took that electric shaver or whatever. My mom was fast asleep, and I knew she was going to be sleeping for a few more hours. So I decided I was just going to, totally go against what she told me and just shave it anyway. So I took the electric clippers or whatever, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror, looking at this like shaggy hair that I'd hated having for the last few months. And I remember asking myself, like verbally, like, do I really want to do this? And I finally decided, what the hell? So I took the electric blade or whatever, and I went right down the middle of my head. I started in the middle because I knew that if my mom woke up while I was still in the process of cutting my hair, that if I started in the middle, there'd be no choice but for me to to finish the job. So I started in the middle, and man, can I say that talking about shaving your head and actually doing it are two very different things. Like, it's not like I regretted it or nothing like that. I was just like shocked because like I'd never seen the top of my head before, because like the last time I'd had no hair, I was an infant. So like I didn't remember what I looked like with no hair. So like when I saw the top of my head, it was like really shocking. Uh, and then I cut off all the rest of my hair. My hair was getting fucking everywhere. I set down a towel on the floor so the hair wouldn't get everywhere. Uh, I put a washcloth in the sink so my hair wouldn't clog the drain or nothing. And I spent about 10 minutes just cutting off all my hair. So by the time I was done, I was totally bald, and feeling the top of my head after I shaved it was weird. Like it just was so, weird to not have any hair there. So I was like just feeling the top of my head, getting the feel for it, I guess. And I decided I liked it. Then I took a shower to clean off all the little hairs or whatever, and it was really weird. I know I keep using that word weird, but that's really the word. That's the only word I can think of to describe it. It was just so jarring to take a shower and feel the water directly on your head skin. Just felt really warm, actually. And later on that day when I went to school and I wore a hoodie because I put my hood on because I wanted to surprise my friends, my head felt more warm than it did when I was wearing a hood with hair. I don't know why. I think maybe it was because the jacket was directly on the skin. Maybe that's why it was cooler or warmer, I should say. I'm not entirely sure why my head felt warmer when I was bald, but I don't know. I just felt really toasty in my hoodie after I shaved my head bald. My mom never did wake up before I left for school, so that entire day at school, I was like dreading going home because I was so worried my mom was gonna freak out, and I didn't want to surprise her. So, because I knew that she doesn't like surprises, and this was definitely not a surprise she was gonna like. So I made a point of leaving a note on the bathroom mirror telling her, like, I'm sorry, I shaved my head bald, even though you told me not to. I just felt like I needed to do that. So, yeah, so I shaved my head bald without her permission. Little did I know that I missed a couple spots on accident. They weren't that noticeable because my hair is so damn light that when I cut it, it looked like I was damn near bald in those spots anyway. So it took a lot of careful inspection to realize I missed any spots. But as soon as I got to the bus stop, Adrenaline started looking over my head because he was laughing hysterically and he just wanted to see if I fucked up in any other way. So he told me that I'd left some strands of hair behind my ears. So immediately I started doing a fucking Gollum impression because like Gollum from Lord of the Rings, he has like little bits of hair like right on the back when it's bald everywhere else. So I was like started to do a Gollum impression because I had like these little blonde strands behind my ears and it was just bald everywhere else. I made a point of making sure nobody noticed those strands. I tried to pull them out, but there was just too many of them, and I didn't want to take a pair of scissors to them because that would have caused a lot of attention. I couldn't go to the bathroom with the scissors because, obviously they would have thought I was going to hurt somebody with the scissors. So I couldn't cut them at school. I had to wait till I got home to cut off the excess hair strands. And so I put the hood back on. One of my friends on the bus, I remember she kept telling me that I look like Caillou. I've never seen Caillou before, but I know what she meant because like everybody knows who Caillou is, but I've just never seen the show. So she was calling me Caillou, and I'm like, man, Caillou didn't have like a beard because I have full beard when I shave my head bald, so that made me look like I was in my 40s or 50s because I was like bald on the top of my head, but I had beard all over my face. Um, so um, so I put my hood back on, and when I got into the school, I took the hood off and I started smiling. Just because I liked shocking people when I was in high school. I liked to surprise people. I learned later on from adrenaline that apparently people were talking behind my back, saying things to each other like, "What the fuck did this idiot do to his hair now?" Things like that. And I don't exactly blame them, but at that point, when I shaved my head bald, I felt like the toughest motherfucker. Like, I felt like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I walked into school feeling like Stone Cold, because I just had no hair. I felt like just so tough. I went to the cafeteria, which is where I normally used to hang out before classes started. And I went up to my friend, and he just gave me like this look, like between confusion and trying not to burst out laughing. And he's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I shaved all my hair off. What do you think?" And I'm like laughing because he's so shocked. And he's like saying, "You look like Walter White." Um, and later on that day, I actually shaved off most of my beard. In that still frame, you might notice I only got a goatee. That's because I shaved off the rest of my beard and just kept the goatee because I agreed with my mom that the beard was making me look too old. So I just shaved it down, so I just had a goatee. So later on that day, I felt and looked even more like Stone Cold and Walter White. Um, so, throughout that day, some teachers made comments about my head being, bald, but they didn't like let it distract them from teaching or nothing like that. A lot of students were looking at me, and I was just kind of taking it in and enjoying it because I like to shock people. Um, you know, and I remember texting my dad and telling him I shaved my head bald, and he's like, "Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I took a selfie, and he's like, "Well, I guess you did." Because I think he thought that I meant that I got a buzz cut. So I showed him that I had shaved it all the way down to the skin. He was pretty surprised. Um, so something weird. Since I used an electric shaver, there was still like the slightest hint of stubble on top of my head still. But for some reason, the stubble looked like black. Even though I'm like blonde, it looked black when it was stubble. It was really strange. Um, I remember telling my Spanish teacher that I wanted to shave my head bald, and my mom kept telling me no. So when I came into school with no hair, she's like, "Well, I guess you didn't listen to her," and I'm like, "No, I didn't." So that was just really funny. And I remember really dreading going home because I was worried my mom was going to yell at me. But she texted me about halfway through the day telling me, "Well, I know I told you no, but I guess it's all right. It's not that big of a deal, So I got home and she took a proper look at my head because I'd sent her a selfie. Um, and she told me that the beard was a little bit much, but the bald head look didn't look as bad as she thought it was going to. So I went into the bathroom and I shaved most of my beard off, just leaving the goatee. Uh, you know, and then I finally shaved off the excess Gollum hairs on the back of my head that I've been like trying to hide all day. I don't remember if all of my friends got a chance to see me with no hair that day. I think only a few. I think some of my friends were out sick that day because it was winter time when this was going on. Adrenaline kept asking me if my head was cold when we were waiting outside, and I kept telling him, "No, it ain't that cold," surprisingly, because again, the hood was actually keeping my head really toasty. Um, so about a week goes by after I shave my head bald, and I realize my hair is starting to grow back. So I decide to take a proper razor to it, but I didn't have no shaving cream because I didn't shave my beard all that often, so I didn't have shaving cream. So basically, what I did is I stood in the shower for a second and just let my head get all wet, and then I took my mom's razor because I didn't have my own razor at the time. So I took my mom's razor, cleaned it off or whatever, and then used it to shave my head. You know, again, I started right in the middle. So for a brief second, I had like a reverse mohawk, like middle of my head, skin bald. The rest has a little bit of stubble on it. And I did that for most of my head, not all of it, because for some reason, I think it was because there was no shaving cream, but shaving my head with that razor hurt like a motherfucker. Like it hurt really bad. It burned. So I didn't want to go over the entire head like after a couple of strokes with the razor that really hurt. I didn't want to have to shave the whole thing no more. You know, and I remember I wasn't aware that I have acne on top of my head, like underneath all my hair. So I ran my razor over this spot on the back left side of my head, and there was acne there that I didn't notice. So the razor went over that, and it just fucking like started spewing fucking blood, like so much blood. Like I can't even tell you. If you guys have seen WWE, if you guys remember that brawl that broke out on Raw between Triple H and Brock Lesnar, where Triple H rams Brock's head into a steel post and he starts bleeding like a motherfucker? My head basically looked like that. Like it started bleeding everywhere. It was getting all over the sink. It was getting on the floor. It was getting all over my bald head. It was getting on my neck, and I was trying to stop it with my hands, so my hands were getting all bloody. I got I got a washcloth I was gonna use for the shower to try and plug that up. It got all red. Just the bleeding would not stop. It was just bleeding everywhere. So I stood in the shower for a little while to just clean off the rest of that blood. The bottom of the tub was just fucking red for a little while. Luckily my mom didn't know I was gushing fucking blood in the next room, because I was able to clean that shit up real quick. Luckily the shower stopped the bleeding. I didn't bleed again after that. But I do still carry the scar from that. I have a scar underneath all my hair that I've since grown back, from that time I botched shaving my head. Um, and later on that same day, I went over to Adrenaline's house because me and Adrenaline had this like tradition. Because Adrenaline only lived a few houses down the road from me. So I used to go onto Adrenaline's porch on the weekends at night, and me and him would just chat about our day or our week or whatever. Because we rode the same bus home from school, but we didn't have enough time to talk because usually one of my other friends would want to sit next to me. So he wouldn't be sitting next to me, so we wouldn't really talk much on the bus. So we used to talk on his porch. So I went over to his porch later on that same day, and he's like still trying to get used to me being bald, and then he looks over at the side of my head, and he's like, "You're bleeding." And I'm like, "Oh, come on," because I thought I'd stopped the bleeding. I guess I didn't because I was still bleeding. I felt, and he was right. There was still blood on my head. So I kind of just left it. I like put my hood up, put my mask on, just covered up my head because I was still, I was still wearing a mask at that point, still trying to be a real life superhero. So I just like covered up my head with my mask and my hood just to cover up the bleeding. Uh, you know, and I didn't actually end up shaving all of my hair, is the thing, because about halfway through, I was getting really tired of the pain that razor was causing me, especially after all that bleeding. So I basically decided to leave the back of my head with stubble on it because my stubble was so light you couldn't tell I didn't shave there. So I decided to just not shave all of my head. Like, those people that like they're like bald in the middle of their head, but they keep the hair on the sides. That's basically what I look like. Nobody noticed though because the hair was so light. So, so anyway, that ended up being the last time I shaved my head because everybody was starting to finally, go up to me and say like, "This look is not good for you. You need to go back to having hair again." And I started to agree. I started to realize maybe the bald look wasn't as good as I thought it was. I started to become less certain about it. I started to want to grow my hair back. I actually started to want to grow it long, believe it or not. So I decided to stop shaving my head. I started to let it grow out, and a couple weeks after I shaved it that one time, my hair had grown back enough that it was buzz cut length, and so I went to Vermont to visit my dad, and I wasn't bald no more. I don't know how he would have felt if I had been there and I was still completely bald. I don't know how he would have felt if he would have been embarrassed about it. I'm embarrassed looking back. I think the bald look was really stupid. So I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking back then. It was a stupid look on me. Uh, Felt like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Looked nothing like Stone Cold. Felt great, but looked stupid. Looking back now, I think being bald was a huge mistake. Definitely made me look even more like a creep than people already thought I was in high school. So, definitely not a good look for me. Uh, and ironically, because I didn't shave all of my hair off, when I was regrowing it back, it was growing at different lengths. Like the part that I didn't shave was growing faster than the fully shaved part. So by the time I had like a full head of hair again, there was like this gap in my hair where uh, you know, the newer hair ended and the older hair continued on. There was like a gap. And I attributed that to hat hair at first because I used to wear a baseball cap all the fucking time. Eventually, though, my mom called me out and she's like, that ain't hat hair. And then I realized, oh shit, you know what? I shaved my head at two different lengths, so maybe that's why it looks like that. And she's like, you're probably right. I'll clean that up for you. Uh, so I ended up getting a buzz cut to fix the length again, and now I've been growing it back ever since. I only shaved my head one more time since then. Not bald though; it was a buzz cut. I buzzed my head after I graduated, and I've been growing it out ever since. I'm trying to grow it long. So that was the last of my adventures of being bald. I'm never going to be bald again. And I know some people are going to be saying, well, you might go bald naturally. The thing is that you go bald from your mom's side of the family, and nobody on my mom's side of the family is naturally bald. We all got full heads of hair. And besides the fact that my hair is so damn thick, that losing it naturally would be really surprising. So honestly, I don't think I'm ever going to lose my hair naturally. I think that I'm always going to have a full head of hair unless I choose to shave it. So if I ever do end up going against my word and end up going bald again, then you'll know that I did it by choice. But as it stands, I definitely don't want to be bald again. That was a stupid look on me. Definitely felt cooler than I looked. Dyeing my hair was a stupid idea, and shaving it all off was equally stupid. Should have just kept my natural blonde hair, the way it was, short or medium, whatever. Just should not have dyed it, shouldn't have shaved it off. Stupid ideas. So thank you guys for watching this here shoot video. Let me know in the comments down below what other recommendations you got for shoot videos. And if you enjoyed it, remember to give the thumbs up. Share this video with all of your friends and family on all of your various social media platforms. Ring that notification bell, and I'll see all you dudes and chicks in the next video.